Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my friends around the globe. This is the experiment, and I'm your host, Joe Soro. I know I've been gone for a while, but I am here, and I am here to entertain tonight. Wanted to wait till the series in Cleveland ended with the road trip as well, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming. The Dodgers have a day off tomorrow, and then we'll be hosting the American League champion New York Yankees. And y'all know why they're the AL champion only. That is because the LA Dodgers are the world champions. So I will be there on Friday. I know a lot of my compadres out in LA are going to be going to this Saturday and Sunday game, which means I got to figure out a way to get over there on Saturday. And I don't think Sunday is going to happen, but definitely got to figure out if Saturday is the deal. Um, there's a chance, actually, because I do have a Yankee friend of mine who is going to be flying in to Los Angeles, and I will be picking him up in Carson and taking him with me to the game. This is an old school New York guy, very, very New York. If any of you guys end up meeting up with me on Friday, and maybe Saturday, you'll definitely be able to get a chance to meet. His name is Joe too. We call him New York Joe or Joe New York, whichever one works. Joey, I call him Joey too. What's up, guys? How you doing? Let's see here. I've got questions already. I'll go ahead and get on them right now. Why did he put Trevino in? Was the best option out of the bullpen? JY, I think the Dodgers right now have spent their bullpen already due to the fact that they have pretty much every pitcher other than Yamamoto, May, and even May was injured at the beginning. Gosselin was injured. Yamamoto has been the only starter on this team, really, that hasn't been either saved to start the year or is now on the IL. So by getting Trevino in there, it allows the Dodgers not to have to use all their high leverage guys until Kopech and Triton get back. That's what I believe is going on. Now they were able to get away with it here. It was only a 4-2 game in the eighth. I know that Tanner Scott's been struggling, but I have a pretty good feeling that if Muncy had fielded that hard hit, and it was a hard ball to kind of grab. Cleveland is known, Progressive Field is known as a jump ground place where the ball tends to jump in different directions on that field. If he gets that, I have full confidence that he gets that guy out and he ends up striking out the next player. And I think that Tanner Scott probably gets out of that inning, but we're not going to know really how that would end up. And we'll never know how that would have played out. But I believe that if he had gotten that, I think they would have gotten out of that inning, not worrying about being down 7-4. If they had tied it up, okay, but I don't think it would have been 7-4. As far as Muncy's third base skills, Muncy's really not a third baseman. He's there out of necessity. And I didn't anticipate him being homerless. Even he's hit a few homers, but with Max Muncy, you're expecting a healthy Max Muncy is going to hit usually around 20 to 30 home runs. That's what he's done when he's played full seasons. So I don't know what's going on with his confidence. I'm assuming there's the pressure's probably getting to him a little bit. He's hearing the noise every 5 minutes. Every time he has an 0-4 game, he's probably hearing the Nolan or not. Geez, I can't even talk tonight. Arenado trades and things like that. He's got to fight through it. This is baseball. Baseball is, of the major sports, probably the most mentally taxing sport in terms of slumps versus not being able to kind of live up to what you're supposed to be. And I'm not in that area yet where the Dodgers need to make a move at third. I wasn't really in that area where they needed to make a move for center fielder. The Dodgers have stacked this team enough, in my view. I'm not saying they're not going to do a trade. I'm not saying that, but that they need it. This team was assembled to win a championship, and it was assembled with depth. Right now, they're 2 games ahead in the toughest division in baseball, in my view, and they haven't really necessarily played well in terms of a team aspect. They've blown some games, but if they're going to blow some games in May versus blowing them in August, September, and October, so be it. And I'm not trying to play Empire Jeff positivity here, guys. I'm just trying to be realistic here. This is going to be the first season in my life where I'm going to be watching all 162. So I made a kind of decision in my head that I have to understand a little bit, even though winning is still an objective game in and game out. That's never going to go away. I do have to kind of scale back a little bit and understand that there's going to be games like this. Understand that. I did warn you guys, though. I did say that this team is going to lose 50 to 60 games this year. I didn't feel that they were going to break the all-time winning record. I just that everything has to go perfect there. And what I mean by perfect, what would have likely have needed to happen is they would have needed every single pitcher. I'm talking Glass now, I'm talking Snell, I'm talking May, Goslin, and Roki. Again, there's whoever, whatever eight solid starters that they have right now. Some would say 10 that they could parade out there for an entire season. Fine. Then you probably have a good chance of doing it because you're probably not using your bullpen as much. These guys are going 6-7 innings, which that's the other thing I can't figure out is if they're already going 6, the bullpen's still going to get taxed at some point. So I don't know. I go back and forth on that. But anyways, point is they're in first place. They're 2 games behind or two games ahead of, I believe, the Giants. And let me check that real quick. I'm sorry, the Padres, and then the Giants are 3 games back. Everyone lost in the West. So right now, the Dodgers have a 1-game losing streak. Padres lost. Giants have lost 3 in a row. Colorado, you all know how that's going. And then Arizona got beat pretty bad today. They've lost 2 in a row. As far as how things will play out in the National League, right now they're only, I think, a game back, a game and a half back of Philly, a game back of Chicago. That's something that kind of maybe not worries me, but that's something I'm looking at too. I want the Dodgers to have the best record in the majors, and they have to get that number. They have to be number 1 there because home field plays a huge part in my view, especially if they can, once they escape the 5-game gauntlet in the NLDS. That's the only series I really worry about with the Dodgers. They had lost 3 in a row before they won the championship last year, and I want them to have home field throughout the playoffs and the World Series because I think that makes a huge difference. Let's see here. Let me get back to your guys' comments here. All right, G, we'll be waiting for you here, bud. Let's see. Where are we here? Colorado has a baseball team. What? I don't know what's going on in Colorado. They shouldn't be this bad. I didn't know Blackman's retirement would create such a hole here, but it has. And again, in the end, what are you going to do? They'll get the first pick next year, and we'll see what ends up happening there. Welcome, Search. Thank you for being here, bud. Aaron, always a pleasure to see you. Search with the iClick. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not going to go all in and on the losing of this last road trip and those last 2 games with the Mets, especially those 2 games, I think actually made me more upset than today's game. Today's game, those things happened, but I felt like the Mets series, they kind of left some things on the table there. I think they should have won both games, but again, they have a chance to make up for that here after the Yankees series. They have a 4-game set in LA. If they can take 3 out of 4 on that one, I'd be pretty happy, but I'd love a sweep. Now, the Dodgers and the Yankees this weekend, I know the Dodgers had a good series last year in New York. They won 2 out of 3 in years past in interleague play. They've never swept the Yankees, at least from my memory. Love to see them do that this weekend, especially since I'm going to be there for at least 1 game, possibly 2. Like to see a sweep here, kind of to put a little bit of a memory for the Yankees should they go back, because right now the Yankees are in first place, and they're in first place by a good amount of numbers, and they're playing pretty good ball. They got I think they have the highest run differential in the majors. They're going to be there. I think they're going to be there, especially with how Max Fried has kind of picked up the Garrett Cole slack since he's not there. And I want the Dodgers to put a little bit of a memory here to let them know, hey, we whooped your ass in the World Series. We're going to whoop your ass this weekend, and you're going to remember us come October should there be a rematch. And I'm not against it. I am not against another Yankee-Dodger World Series. Matter of fact, the Yankee-Dodger World Series was there every year for the next 5 years. I would be very happy. I think it's an iconic series. There's been 12 of them. The Dodgers have won 4 of them. I'd love to see if we can catch up to that 8 that the Yankees won. Most of it at the beginning of the 20th century, of course. But I'd like to see if the Dodgers can put a little bit of a dent in that disparity. So right now, the Yankees are 8 wins in the World Series against the Dodgers and 4 losses against the Dodgers. Let's see maybe a kind of like a Cleveland Golden State run where 4 years in a row you see the Yankees and the Dodgers. I don't think the networks would be mad about that. Definitely MLB wouldn't be mad about that. Would the small market teams and the Tampa Bays and the Floridas be upset? Maybe, maybe not. But I know a lot of people that live in Tampa and Florida that are Yankee fans. So I don't know. Not necessarily. It might be a good thing. But I'd like to see I'd like to see the series again, definitely, and to see if the Dodgers can make a little bit of a run here, a Yankee run at the beginning of the 20th century where they win 2-3 in a row. But in the meantime, I will be there on Friday. I will be there with my Yankee friend. If anybody is listening on the show or listens to the show later today, tomorrow, before Friday, if you happen to go on Friday, just shoot me a message. You guys can see my my X. You can also reach me on Instagram as well with the Joe Soro Experiment. And if you guys want to message me, let me know where you guys are sitting, where you're at. We can go ahead and connect and shoot the shit a little bit before the game, during the game, whatever. Thameless, what's up, brother? Scott wasted Kershaw's outing. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm still hanging on to that Muncy goof at third, even though it wasn't sort of his fault because the ball was coming 100 miles an hour. I just think if Muncy had gotten that ball and gotten him out, I think that probably would have saved Scott in that inning. But it's been a problem, so it's not just an isolated thing. Scott's been pitching horribly this last 4 outings, and I don't know if he's going to end up going on the IL to figure out if there's a quote unquote injury. He doesn't look injured. I just think his mechanics are maybe off a little bit. His delivery might not be working where he needs to go. Location's definitely been a problem as well, or he's just trying to get the ball down the middle a little bit more, and he's getting swapped for it. Yankees swept the Halos tonight. Yeah, we need to return the favor. We need to make them go back to New York, even in LA, even though Anaheim's not really LA. Southern California. Only needed 1 run. Good Lord, Artie. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Have a good day, Gio. Good. Mark. Where is he? Mark is here? Let me see. I didn't even see his message yet. Did you guys see him? Oh, there he is. Have a good show. Good. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Again, I talked to one of your countrymen today, by the way, Mark. My neighbor, his name is Josh. He's into the golf world. He's a creator in that world, and was helping him with some of the turf that he has in his house. So one up for Australia. We got an Australian in the neighborhood. I got my Australian brothers here in virtual reality. So I can't get away from Australia, guys. I think I have a theory on the Australia thing. Besides the personality connection, I do think that my former life was in Australia. It just makes too much sense at this point. I'm just getting that feeling. Well, tomorrow will be the final NBA game on TNT ever. What did they say about that stuff? I don't even know. I'm going to, by the way, thanks for the segue there, Aaron. I was going to go into the Oklahoma City, Minnesota game. I don't know what like ESPN, NBC, they're bringing the show over there. Like I'm hearing 2 different stories. I don't know what's going on. Can somebody update me on this? I don't know. I haven't been able to know. I heard that they were going to keep it and then maybe do like a simulcast of some type. Or are they going completely to ESPN or an NBC? I don't know. That's something we have to talk about. But tonight, the Oklahoma City Thunder didn't really waste too much time in absolutely waxing the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 to go to the NBA Finals. This is their second appearance in the NBA Finals. Last time they were in the NBA Finals was in 2012. That was when Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant went before they got beat by the Miami Heat in 5. They actually won game 1 in that series, and I remember vividly everyone saying, "Oh my God, LeBron's going to end up losing another series," and then they ended up winning the next 4. So, how this is going to play out for Oklahoma City, I believe they're obviously going to be the favorites, no matter if they're playing the Pacers or the Knicks. But I think they're locked in. I think their defense, I think Chet Holmgren has come of age. He's slowly coming of age. His defense has been phenomenal. His kind of absorption in what's going on has been phenomenal. And I wasn't suspect. I hope I didn't come off suspect of Chet Holmgren, but it was more of I need to see more from Chet Holmgren. And I know he's been injured, but that's the point. The point is get healthy, for God's sakes. How often you're in your 20s? Like get with it here. And since he's been healthy, he has been an absolute dynamo, and he's gotten better in the playoffs. So good for him. Shai Gilgeous, the current MVP, played well. Jalen Williams playing well. They're likely going to be a force here in the finals, and they looked like they didn't really care that they won the West. They looked pretty focused that they're ready to do something great here. And the fact that I think their interview skills stink. I don't know. These guys had the way they were answering questions. It looked like they'd never been interviewed before. And maybe being in Oklahoma City, they don't get a lot of national attention. But that was kind of the takeaway on that. I was waiting for the proverbial best fans in the world comment. I thought initially the owner would say it when he was on in an interview. I don't even know if he even interviewed. But then I think Jalen Williams ended up saying it. So, yeah, everybody thinks they have the best fans in the world. Okay. But congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder beating the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota Timberwolves looked like they were outmatched pretty much the entire series. And I said that they beat two, struggling teams. The Lakers were struggling with an array of things. LeBron wasn't really healthy, not really able to do what he needed to do at the end of games. Luka was probably still kind of ailing from whatever stomach virus he had, and just the fact that he's dealt with all the craziness of him coming to LA since February. And then obviously Austin Reeves struggling again in the playoffs. I think Rui had the only kind of improvement in the playoffs from past seasons. But they beat the Lakers, and then they beat a injury-riddled Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. And then they met a team that was focused and ready to whoop some butt, especially after beating Denver. I think winning Game 7 for Oklahoma City against Denver was the threshold. Getting through the threshold of, hey, are we going to continue to lose before we're supposed to, or are we going to make our mark here? Because they played the MVP in my view, which is Jokic, and they were able to close Denver and him out. And kudos to Denver too. I didn't give them enough credit in playing as hard as they did, especially with some of their guys being hurt. Some of their guys, Michael Porter Jr. was playing hurt. You had a lot of guys that were kind of struggling there. Aaron Gordon, which grade 2 hamstring, that is a month-long injury. And the fact that he might have shot himself up, might have just bit the bullet and played with that pain. I don't know how the hell you play with a grade 2 hamstring pull. That's a beast. Groins and hamstrings, especially for someone athletic like Aaron Gordon, that's debilitating. And in the end, it ended up being that they weren't able to close it out against Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City learned and got that proverbial statement game out of their way, and they ended up using it on Minnesota and now are in the NBA Finals, and they're 4 games away from bringing a title to the Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And they're still technically the previous Seattle Supersonics. It's the Supersonics / Oklahoma City Thunder. So if they win a championship here in a few weeks, they'll end up winning their second championship in franchise history. JY, that's the Julius Randle us Lakers fans are used to. No show. Yeah. I thought he was going to continue to play the way he was playing against the Lakers and Golden State, but that looked like he was able to take advantage of matchups that he was able to take advantage of. But once he met a defensive juggernaut like Oklahoma City, his isolation ball ended up costing them. And Anthony Edwards, to me, has always been a little bit overhyped. I know he's a number 1 pick. I know he's got freakish athleticism. I know he's shown spurts, but he's not there right now. And I don't know if he ever will, but does he need a second guy? I don't think Julius Randle is technically a second guy. I think he'd be better as a third guy. Obviously, Rudy Gobert is not going to be a second, third, or fourth guy. He's just Rudy Gobert. I guess he only looks good against the Lakers for whatever reason. But that's because the Lakers had no center. They had no center. Barely had, and the backup center that they had playing as a starter, he didn't even get a chance to play. So the Lakers really played Minnesota with no big at all. And Gobert was able to take advantage of it and make the Lakers made him look much better than he really was. But he came down he came down to earth in this game against the Hartensteins and the Chet Holmgrens and the juggernaut that they are in terms of defense, as well as everyone else on the perimeter for Oklahoma City. So, yeah, again, it went the way I thought it would. I think I had predicted 5 for the Thunder, and they did just that. How things are going to play out against with the Pacers and the Knicks, I am very surprised at what's gone on with this series. I actually assumed that I would have never guessed the Knicks would have lost the first 2 games in New York. I would have said, okay, they split those, and then they split the ones in Indiana, and it's 2-2. And then this series goes 1-1-1, where it goes to 7. Now, it could go that way. New York could win Game 5. They could get lucky and win Game 6, and it goes 7. I wouldn't doubt it, but it doesn't look that good. Indiana seems to have some kind of momentum behind them. Halliburton is playing out of his mind, and I think there isn't really a reason other than maybe an injury that he won't continue to do that. So I won't be surprised if they end up closing out the Knicks in 5 and then having a nationally televised Oklahoma City Indiana Pacer final. How do you guys feel about that? Does that sound good? I mean, for basketball people, it's going to make sense a little bit, but the general audience, is the NBA really going to want this? Probably not. I mean, they would have preferred the Knicks at least a little bit, but does the Knicks Oklahoma City Thunder final work? See, what would have worked is a Minnesota Knicks series a little bit, because those guys traded integral parts before the season started to have that, and I think it would be poetic that both of them end up making the finals for making good decisions. If that would have been the quintessential even trade for both teams, the fact that they made those trades and ended up going to the finals. But we're not going to get that. It's going to be Oklahoma City. And then you're going to see likely the Indiana Pacers. And Oklahoma City is going to be favored in that series. And I think they're going to win that series, but it's not one of those things where you'll say, oh, wait a minute, it's for sure going to happen. I mean, the Indiana Pacers could manifest something. They could end up winning that series in 6, 7, 5. It could go either way. But again, we'll watch and we'll see. Let's see here. Timeline for Sasaki and Snell. Honestly, I don't know, Thameless. I don't know. Snell has a quote-unquote shoulder issue. Sasaki's the same thing. I don't know if they got Sasaki out just to kind of get him to calm down a little bit. I would have liked to have seen him pitch a little bit more just to let him get himself in things. But they sort of did this thing with Yamamoto last year, and it turned out to be a good thing. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with this. I'm still waiting on a decision on whether Ohtani is going to pitch. Ohtani was able to do some pitching to real hitters in New York when they were playing the Mets, and there was some good stuff, some good footage that I saw. Good movement, looked like old Ohtani, pitching in Anaheim. So I'm waiting for that. I want to see what I saw when I was a kid. I want to see Bo Jackson run the ball in football and take it at bat in baseball. Same thing with Deion Sanders. I was fortunate enough to see that. Brian Jordan was another one. Not a lot of people talk about. Brian Jordan played for the Atlanta Falcons and the Atlanta Braves. He just wasn't as famous as Bo Jackson and Deion, because those guys were, well, at the time, Bo Jackson was on his way to the Hall of Fame. Deion Sanders ended up being a Hall of Fame football player and a damn good baseball player too. I don't think he gets enough credit for being a good baseball player and the freakish athlete that guy is. I mean, hitting a baseball, guys, might be the hardest thing to do in sports. There's other things that are hard, don't get me wrong, but like playing quarterback is hard, but hitting a baseball is hard. And the fact that he was able to do it for a short amount of time as he did, playing in New York, playing in Atlanta, playing in San Francisco, played in a World Series and in a Super Bowl. To me, that's what you call greatness. Not too fond of who he is now, not too much. I go back and forth with Deion, but as far as a player perspective, great. And we're going to get a chance to see that, guys. Now, the only difference is it's the same sport. We didn't see Bo pitch. We didn't see Deion pitch, although we did see this. We saw Deion play both ways. That's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. Kudos to Deion for that. Playing offense and defense in the NFL. Yeah, pretty damn impressive. Okay, let's see here. Yes, Bo Jackson was Zeus's son. I do agree with that. I could agree with that. Bo and Deion were bona fide stars. Yeah, no doubt. And if Bo doesn't get hurt in football, I think at some point he would have retired from football and went full-time in baseball. Because had he stayed in baseball, I have zero doubt that he would have been a 500 home run hitter. He would have been Reggie Jackson. He would have been the Reggie Jackson type. He struck out a good amount of times, but he would have also hit a lot of home runs. And we'll get into more of that here. I got my good friend Gerald, who has arrived. Welcome, Gerald.
Good evening, my friends. How are you?
We've talked, at least face-to-face, virtually.
Yes. Yes. Well, I've actually seen you in person, so I am, of the individuals out there, I have seen Joe in person. So the rumors are all true. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we had a good lunch with the fam. Enjoyed it quite well. Love the wife, love the kids. Liked you too, Gerald. I'm not gonna be, you're nice too.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
But yeah, I wanted to get on tonight because I wanted to see how this road trip kind of ended. I was excited and prepared going into the 8th inning today to talk about a sweep to finish off the road trip, and of course that got thrown in my face. So we've talked a little bit about the Dodgers, talked obviously Western Conference Finals results, and then talked a little bit about what's going on this weekend. I will be in Dodger Stadium on Friday with some friends, hoping to see some of the people on here there as well. There's a slight possibility I might be there Saturday. There's been some talk that we might go to a Saturday game. We're going to see what the group says. It might grow. The group might grow. And then, I wanted to talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. I think Shohei Ohtani has. We've been talking about these great players, and I was going to segue from comparing Shohei to Bo and Deion, and then go into.
Well, you're going to see Shohei and Aaron Judge plastered in front of your face and your TV screen all weekend long, Joe.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because Aaron Judge is having an all-time season. He's probably going to be, if he continues this, he's going to be the AL MVP again. But the stat that I saw today was interesting. Shohei has hit 20 home runs in 55 games. Well, today was, I think, 56. but he had hit 20 home runs in 55 games at the time when I read this stat. And he had hit 20 home runs last year after 75 games. So I did a little bit of math. He is slated to hit 59 home runs according to the pace this year and to the amount of games he's played. But he destroyed later in the year, like to the point where he was just hitting like crazy and kind of debunked because he hit 40. I remember he hit 40 in that when he hit that grand slam to walk off in Dodger Stadium, and then getting the 54 was it felt like he did it in a few weeks. So since you're here and since we're talking Shohei here, how is his pitching going to affect his hitting once he starts
That's what I'm
pitching,
worried
hopefully in
about.
June? So you're worried.
That's what
So
I'm
you're
worried
worried about those numbers probably going down because he's pitching.
I really think so, especially when you're coming back and trying to get into a rhythm. Maybe if he stays healthy and stays in a rhythm as far as, or gets into a rhythm, maybe the latter part of the season we'll see back to the old Shohei. But I think his numbers at the plate or his stolen bases numbers, which is something very underrated to that aspect of today's baseball, him out there stealing bases. That to me, I think those numbers initially will go down, and that's what I'm worried about. And I could just hear the Empire Jeff voice back in my head. There's nothing to worry about because he's the Dodgers apologist that's out there. We love you, Jeff, but he the Dodgers can do no wrong in his eyes. Like he reminds me a lot of Laker Tom in that sense, as far as that's concerned. Just he bleeds blue and gray, and I'll just say this: I just am so worried about bringing Shohei in and putting him back in a full time rotation or even regularly. I would just use him periodically until the playoffs as a pitcher and just have him focus on trying to go ahead and carry this team to, like you said, you want this team to be the MLB. You said it earlier in the show, because I've been watching the show. You want them to be number one in the MLB. Right now, Detroit has a 3 or 4 game lead on them right now overall. That should be of concern. They need to go on a run. They need to go and run sometime in the not too distant future. I also think that I know you and I argued on the LFB in regards to their bullpen. They right now have the 17th, they're number 17 in ERA with about close to 4. I really think they do need to shore up their bullpen. And if that's the case, I think I know people point out to Muncy and some other stuff on the field, whatnot. I think that's their biggest area of need is still the bullpen. And if you can get that right, have Shohei, periodically appear on the mound. I don't mind that. I don't think that will hurt his numbers that much. But if you get him back where he's a regular part of the rotation, Joe, I think something has got to give. I really think something has got to give.
We're seeing a once in a century player. And this is a guy who loves to pitch too. He loves to pitch. For me, I think it's worth seeing it for at least a couple of years.
Okay.
We're not gonna see this according to history again for another 100 years, probably.
Okay.
And I don't you can't play scared. And this is where and I don't believe I saw enough of Roberts in that Mets series, especially the one that they won, the extra innings one. I've seen enough with Dave to where I'm like, okay, Dave's turned the corner. Dave wants to win. Dave feels a little bit of pressure of having arguably the greatest assembled roster of all time. And the pressure is there for him to make sure that this ends up being a title. And what's important to look at here is the winning mentality. I don't believe is something you can turn off a lot. It's just you can't. You got to play to win. You can choose to maybe, scale back a little bit in a battle and lose the battle but win the war type mentality. But you also can't get yourself in trouble too much. You can't go into this May and June going, oh well, we still have some time. Even though you do, because what will end up happening is you're sitting at 34 wins, and then all of a sudden you start looking at Detroit in the AL, and they're at 37 wins. And why is that important? I have not made it public who I think will go into who will be in the World Series, but I actually had Detroit. I had a feeling Detroit might be the team that comes out of the AL. And that's a good team. And they have the best pitcher in baseball, in my view. So, do you want to start that series in Detroit? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to.
I'm just saying I mean, I didn't say not use him at all on the mound. I just said just be careful how you utilize him. Sometimes the worst person in this situation is himself, because he can tell you, oh, I can go out and pitch. I can go out and hit. I can go and do this. I can go and do that. Sometimes the worst person to ask is the player themselves, because a player always wants to compete. A player always wants to go out there. But sometimes as a manager, you have to evaluate that and say, you know what, is it best for him and is it best for my team to utilize him so much out there on both sides right now in the middle of May, June, July, August? If you use them periodically, like Thameless says, lower pressure situations on occasion, like maybe in a blowout, or just utilize him in a situation where he is not needed, or maybe come in for like a third of an inning or 2/3 of an inning, or just facing off against one pitcher. I get that. That's something that's fine. I don't think that will detract too much away from his hitting. I'm just worried if you start relying on him now, how much at the end of the season will he have left?
Well, that's probably why they're waiting. They're waiting until June, maybe even July. But I'm not looking at it from any other perspective than I want to see greatness that we don't see. This becomes more of a fan thing, I don't want.
Well, like you, I want to see the championship first and foremost.
Sure, yeah, but imagine a championship with Ohtani pitching and hitting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the playoffs, you can then turn up the wick if you're just careful with him on the mound for the regular season, Joe. You have a much better arm for him in the playoffs. That's what I'm saying. Just basically is try to utilize him carefully during the season to utilize him more proficiently in the playoffs. That's all.
So would you, let's say if they're playing the Colorado Rockies and he's pitching, would you just pitch him that day and not have him hit?
No, he's going to want to hit. Okay. Again, if you like you said, how can you have him, especially in Colorado? My God, in Colorado, I think you and I, in the elevated air of Colorado, can hit home runs in Colorado right now. Even I haven't hit a ball in years. I could still probably check one out in Colorado right now in that elevated air. But let's say you're doing it in Houston, or let's say you do one of the larger parks, if you can try and talk them into that. But at this point, we'll see what happens. I know you guys are just like Rob Pelinka. In many ways, you and Jeff have given Roberts a pass. And in Robert's case, he's actually earned it with his winning of the World Championship. I'm just concerned seeing how their bullpen is being used, seeing the results from the bullpen, and the fact that you guys aren't getting the results there. I think that's the major flaw of the Dodgers right now is the bullpen. worried about how Roberts will utilize Ohtani once Ohtani says, or once the medics and anybody related to this, the coaches, the physician says he's ready to go. I am just worried about how he will be utilized by Roberts during the season, not playoffs, during the season.
So let's look at this for a second. Let's say he starts pitching in June. He's going to pitch likely once a week. So that's, let's say, 4 times a month, 4 times June, July, August, September. That's 16 games. It's 16 games. He's probably pitching 6 innings on the average. So 16 innings. I'm sorry, 16 games times 6. You're looking at just not even 100 innings. Looking at 96. 96 innings. Is 96 innings going to tax him enough to make a dent? Is going to be the question you have to ask yourself. Now, he's probably going to pitch probably 18 if he finishes the regular season on a 6-day rotation. He'll probably have a 6-day rotation. And what happens if he pitches 18 games and wins 11 games, loses 4, loses 3, I don't know, gets a 2.5 ERA and hits 50 homers, and I don't know if he's going to probably run as much at that point for sure.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Well, that's the first thing that will go is the stolen bases. Not entirely, mind you, but it will probably decrease. So, do you think? Do you agree with me on that? Once he focuses more on pitching, you think that one facet of his game will decrease? Not the home runs per se, but maybe the stolen bases.
So he's 30 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. He looks like he's as good as a shape as he's ever been. So when you look at the last year he pitched, you saw him. Let me see. Let me bring up the stats here real quick. In 2021, he won the MVP, and he pitched 23 games. Let's see, where are we here?
Well, let me put you. How many Tommy Johns?
Okay. Here.
Has he had 2 or 1?
He's had 2, but they said this last one was revolutionary.
Don't they always say that?
Okay, here. Let's talk shop a little bit. The last season he pitched was in 2023. He won the MVP. He won 10 games. He had 132 innings pitched. And when you look at his hitting stats, that last year he went 44 home runs and 95 RBIs. And in 2021, when he won the MVP again, pitching and hitting, he was 46 home runs and 100 RBIs. Now, his best pitching season was actually 2022. He was second to Aaron Judge in the MVP because Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs. He went 15-9 and then went 34 home runs and 95 RBIs. So I don't know. I don't know. He's essentially averaged 40 home runs and 100 RBIs in those 3 seasons he pitched. In those MVP years or runner-up MVP years.
And JY, to answer your question, I wanted to say that he does not have incentives built in to his contract in regards to pitching. So pitching is just a bonus. Essentially, it's just a bonus for the Dodgers at this point. Or, it's because he wants to do it, like you said, Joe. Again, 2 Tommy Johns. Yes, second is revolutionary, but it's still 2 Tommy Johns. I would just say be careful. That's all I'm at. That's all I'm saying. I just say be careful. That's all I'm saying. So I'm erring or whatever you say on the side of caution when it concerns the guy that I'm spending $700 million on and you'll forgive me for that.
Well, let's just go the negative way here. Let's go the negative way. This is gonna. Let's say something happens, God forbid. You gave it a shot. It's over.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
2025 is likely shot. You could probably still compete.
Yeah, it could still hit most likely.
I don't know. If he tears his UCL again, can he hit, or does he have to get off? Does he have to go another route? Right.
Good
Anyways, let's just say, for God forbid, no, I'm knocking on wood the reverse way. Let's just say it doesn't work out. I'm not even going to say what it is, and he now has to rehab and get back to normal. You gave it a shot. You're going to get a lot of criticism because that's what people do. Everybody thinks they're a freaking psychic, right? Mm-hmm. But this is too rare to not give a chance to. It's too rare.
And I'm not saying don't give it a chance, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying be careful.
I know, but I'm saying, I'm looking at it from a different area primarily. I'm looking at it as imagine Shohei pitching a winning playoff game and hitting a home run. Imagine him winning an NLCS MVP. Imagine him winning a World Series MVP, pitching and hitting. There's still a little bit of a gap. He's arguably the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. And I'm saying this because it's probably true in terms of seeing, because I never saw Babe Ruth play. Barry Bonds is the other guy, but his legacy is stained. Shohei is not stained, and we've seen him play, and we have footage, and we have live TV, and we have technology to where we can see Shohei play versus Babe Ruth. Not a lot of TV, not a lot of that stuff from back in the 20s and 30s. So let's say Shohei pitches well, hits well. The Dodgers win the World Series, and he throws in and he's pitching and hitting in the playoffs, and ends up winning a playoff series MVP. I have full confidence that if they were to do that, if he was to do that, and the Dodgers win it all, I think the argument will no longer be an argument. And for me, I think that's worth the risk.
And ultimately, I know that Johnny was welcome, Johnny. Ultimately he's going to do like we talk about all the time on the Lakers Fast Break, Joe, where we talk about how LeBron has full control of what he wants to do going forward, and Luka the same thing. I think if Ohtani wants to pitch and how much he wants to pitch ultimately will be what he wants to do. But as I say, Joe, and I said earlier to Search, I said sometimes the worst player or worst person to go ahead and ask is that same player himself. Sometimes you have to prevent that player from doing something you might see might be problematic going forward. But I don't mind him pitching. I just mind how, Ohtani will be like, okay, he'll go on the mound. He'll give you like 3 or 4 good innings his first outing, Joe. And then he'll think he'll be right back in it and what that does for the team. And he'll be out there every third, 4th or 5th day. And there you go. I just worry what how he'll be utilized when he comes back to the mound. That's all.
Well, I'm going to use a familiar scenario. Mm-hmm. Not exactly like this, but this is again a mentality thing. Everyone here saw The Last Dance. There was a segment in there where Jordan broke, I believe it was his one of his bones in his leg, and there was a lot of talk from Reinsdorf and management that they wanted him not to press. And there was a really cool comparison, analogy, whatever, in that Reinsdorf looked at Jordan and said, Jordan, if I told you that if I gave you 10 something, I think you said something to eat, 10 things, and one of them was poisonous and would kill you, would you chance it? Because there was a 10% chance that if he played on that leg late in the season the way he did, he might never play again. And then there was a 90% chance he'd be fine. And Reinsdorf didn't want to do that. Reinsdorf's like, why would we even risk a 10%? Would you eat something that if we gave you 10 foods and one of them is going to kill you, would you take a chance on that? And Michael had a great answer. He said, well, it depends on how much pain I was in. Right? I mean, brilliant response. I can't compare what we're talking about from my experience as a professional athlete, but I will compare it to a mentality I have in real life. Anytime I have not gone with my instincts, I've usually failed. Matter of fact, I think I failed every time. And it's always high risk. And if it doesn't work, it segues into something else. So I never really the failure part is so hard to explain because my only failure in life is I couldn't make it to the NFL. I wanted to be in the NFL. That was a failure, but some will look at it as maybe it wasn't a failure. You just didn't get there, and you can look back on it and say, hey, look, you're 47 years old. Your knees don't hurt. Your hips don't hurt. Your neck doesn't hurt. Sure, I had my shoulder reconstructed, but I've been lifting like a freaking silverback gorilla the last month, and I've had no pain. So it's, to me, I'm maybe looking at this from the standpoint is I want to see greatness, and the hell with worrying about it. Just to hell with it. I'm tired of
for selfish reasons.
Everything is worry this, worry that. After a while, it's just like anything else. If you're constantly worrying and playing safe, what happens? You end up working in a job that you hate your boss and you hate your life, and you go home and you hate your home life. Like, screw it. I want to see greatness. And if the penalty is, holy crap, you lose out another year, so what? This is year 2 of 10. But imagine if it hits. We would be witnesses, probably for the rest of our lives, of something that has never been seen. And to me, that's a hell of a thing at your disposal, on your plate. And as far as the go with sometimes the players can be a detriment to themselves. I just gave you a good example of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's focus at that time was, these mother-you-know-whats are trying to get a better draft pick. That's why they don't want me to play. F them. We're tired of the Coke circus that the Bulls were at that time. I'm bringing a new regime here. I'm bringing a winning attitude, and look what it did. Look what it produced in the end. 6 titles, an iconic franchise that they still milk. That cheap bum, in a good way. I have no ill will against Jerry Reinsdorf, but he's a prick in a bad way. He used to purposely put things in those situations where he made it worse when he could have made it better being the owner, right? But they still milk that. The Chicago Bulls, even though they have been irrelevant in the big stage for since 1998, they still are a money machine. Why? Because they still live off that United Center aura, and even though I don't think it's called the United Center anymore, that 6-title Jordan statue outside the arena, mentality. And that all was created because Michael Jordan made a stand that day, that week, that end of the year. And he said, we are not going to play this safe. My leg is fine. Let's go chase greatness. And look what it did. So Ohtani has already shown this. The only problem is he was wearing the wrong uniform. Now we need to see him do this with the Dodgers. And if he ends up pitching and hitting well, let's say he wins 10 games to finish the season. I'm just throwing that number out there. I'm not saying he's going to win 10 games. Imagine he wins double-digit games, hits 40 home runs. Maybe he gets 40 stolen bases. How about that, Gerald? Let me ask you this question. Would you rather have, and I know he's already had it, so it doesn't matter, but let's just say he didn't have 50-50. Let's say you had a choice. Let's say I came to you and I said, Gerald, I'm a psychic. Two things, you have two choices here. Would you rather have Shohei hit 50 for 50 or go 40 for 40 and win double digits as a pitcher?
40-40-10 is what you're saying. 40-40-10.
40-40 and then 10 wins as a pitcher.
Yeah, 40-40-10, because obviously you're helping the team more and you're assuming that the rest of the team is going to be able to pick up the slack for the 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases. You would think the Dodgers would be capable of picking up the slack for that, especially with the lineup that they have.
So see, you do value that unicorn.
I see you, Serge.
And it's important to be in the moment sometimes. You heard that also in the Last Dance. These are people that followed the game, that wrote about the game at that time, right? Write the game, probably still to this day, or maybe they're retired. I don't know. But those people who were invested in that time, the journalists then were so much more different. Now they were legitimate journalists. Now it's hard to be a journalist these days. You have to be a clown to get the attention, and you have to have morons following you on social media than to be a real journalist. But back then, when they actually did journalist stuff, the way they would depict, because these guys wrote well, they wrote for newspapers, they were good writers, being in the moment and really focusing in that moment. And you look at Shohei Ohtani, what has he shown? Shohei is not a guy that's not clutch. That's kind of rare, even for the greats that we've seen in the last, I'll say 30 years plus in my lifetime. All due respect, I'm not smashing Barry Bonds for this, but until the 2002 run, the Giants had almost won a World Series against your Anaheim Angels, or at least at the time it was. He was not he never played. He didn't play well in the playoffs. Roger Clemens struggled in the playoffs. Mike Piazza struggled in the playoffs. So Shohei got some flack for not being the guy in the World Series, right? He got injured. What do you want him to do? He got injured in game 2, wasn't able to do what he probably needed to do the rest of the series. But I will stand on this, and most of the people that have common sense will stand on it. When the Padres scored 3 runs in game 1 in Dodger Stadium to start that game, and then 2 innings later, he hit that 3-run homer to tie it, that right there was all the Dodgers needed to go on that run. Now, they ended up losing 2 more games during that series, right? But they don't win game 1. If they don't win game 1, they probably get swept. And if Shohei does not hit that 3-run homer, they likely do not win that game. And he was a threat, even injured. He was a threat. And and this is something that you can believe or you cannot believe. Nestor Cortez getting him out on 1 pitch. Whatever Shohei saw from Nestor, he relayed it to Freddie. You think Freddie didn't know where that ball was going? There's no effing way, no way that Freddie did not know that ball was coming, because he hit it perfect. Just watch the swing. He knew exactly where it was. And if you look at the footage, he was talking to Shohei the entire time. And it's on record. He did say something that he was talking to Shohei. Shohei told him, what's up? Hey, dude, this guy's going to do this. Why? Because Nestor had a habit of getting him out. Hey, he's going to pitch you inside. I don't remember if it was a four-seam fastball inside. I think it was. Knocked it out of the park. Shohei scored, tied the game in game 1, too, by the way, after he hit that double that ended up being an extra base to third base. Baseball is not just about, hitting a home run to win the game. Sometimes it's just a threat. And there hasn't been a bigger threat in baseball the last 5 years than Shohei Ohtani. And he will, I assure you, he stays healthy the rest of the year, he will be a problem in this run because he is thinking about it. He's like, you know what? That was my first playoff run. But this next one, I'm going to take it to the house. And he might be doing it on the mound and at the plate, which that's the exciting part. That's the exciting part. What we already got Shohei. We already won a championship. The Dodgers are already champions. But man, imagining upping the ante. Imagine winning back-to-back championships in a year where your unicorn pitches and hits and is one of the main reasons why you're winning those series, gets an MVP, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't have to, but I'm just saying. Now what are you going to say? Because he's going to win his 4th MVP. Should he stay healthy, obviously. And it looks like he's gonna hit 50 home runs. Unless the pitching scales it back, right? But what if he pitches and hits 50 home runs?
Well, there you go.
Pretty
Best
crazy.
of both worlds.
Pretty crazy. Let's see. I'm going to get back to some of the guys here. I see Sin Blades is not your turf. There you go. Today was a Sin Blades day. Very, very busy, actually, week. Really enjoying the show. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, brother. Johnny Owen, he'll win his 4th MVP. I do agree with that. Yes, Johnny. So if Shohei starts and most everyone in the rotation is healthy. So let's look at that for a second. Good question, Aaron. Or good comment, I should say. If Shohei is pitching, Yamamoto's pitching, Dustin May is pitching right now, Gosselin is pitching. So what happens when Glasnow is back, Snell is back, and Sasaki is back? That's 7 pitchers. Oh, and by the way, you have Kershaw as the 8. How does this play out? Let's say everyone is healthy across the board. I am positive they're going to run a 6-man rotation. Shohei will be the 6th. And if they want to allow Snell to be 5, I don't think they're going to listen to him this time. I think they're going to say, you pitch every 6th day. Because what we were doing before wasn't working. So, Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Shohei, Sasaki, May over Gosselin? I don't know. It's an enrichment of riches. Is that how you say it?
Something like that. Yes.
I know that's wrong, by the way. I just wanted to say it that way.
An embarrassment of riches.
Embarrassment of riches, but we're not embarrassed. So Yamamoto, Snell, Ohtani, Glasnow, Kershaw, May. So May's been pitching very, very well. I think if he doesn't get hurt, I think he's going to be the guy. Snell is definitely going to be the guy. Yamamoto is definitely going to be the guy. Glasnow's definitely going to be there in terms of when he's healthy. But does he last the end of the year? I'm going to go based off history. He's not. He's more likely not to make it to the end. So May, going into a contract year, is going to be there. And then Gosselin has been pitching well too. And his pitching is, I think, more sustainable. Plus, he's very good at pitching in moments where there's men on base. He's very good at getting out of jams. That's something that you cannot measure other than making sure you have them there. So what do you do with Gosselin? What do you do with May? If Yamamoto, Snell, Ohtani, Glasnow, and Kershaw are ready, like I guess it's a good problem to have. And, if they can get healthy altogether, you might be able to see a run during the regular season where they can kind of get ahead of everybody and make sure that they're ready for the postseason with the best record. Because that's really ultimately what's the best. That's the most important part, at least for me. I didn't care about the win record. Get to the playoffs and make sure you have the best record so you can give yourself home field throughout the playoffs. But we're still worried about that first run. We're still worried about that NLDS run. The way that the Giants are playing, the way that the Padres are playing, it's very likely that there's a chance that they might end up playing one of those guys. I'd love to play the Giants. Padres, I don't think the Giants are going to make it, though. I think they're going to falter at some point unless they make a trade. Padres, we'll see if they get out of their funk here in the next month or so. We'll have to see if they make an acquisition as well. But the Dodgers have to figure out what's going on with these injuries with the pitchers so that we can get some kind of clarity on what the focus will be after the All-Star break. Because after the All-Star break, that's when things start to get a little bit harder. The sun starts to come out more. The heat starts to come out more. The wear and tear of the season starts to come out more. Are they playing for that? Snell has had a habit of starting slow and finishing strong. Glasnow is a hit and miss. He can miss the whole season or he can sort of be there. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Snell is going to be there in the end. Obviously, Yamamoto is going to be there. Yamamoto right now is teetering between 1 and 2, in my view, of who's going to win the Cy Young. He might be one of the best 2 in the to kind of candidates to be for the Cy Young, basically. That's what I'm looking at. I know that the Pirates stink, but Paul Skeens is the other guy I thought of. Him and Yamamoto. You also have Corbin Burns. You also have Zach Wheeler. But for me, I believe in the end, I think it's probably gonna be between Skeens and Yamamoto. And maybe the winning trumps the losing in Pittsburgh. Imagine that, Gerald. Imagine this. Something I was thinking about here the last few months. Imagine the Dodgers go back-to-back. And Ohtani wins the MVP. I don't care what his stats are, 50 home runs, 40 home runs, whatever, however much he pitches. But let's just say the Dodgers win back-to-back championships. Ohtani wins back-to-back Dodger MVPs. This would be his 3rd straight if he wins it. He'd be, oh, by the way, Gerald, too, he will have done what Frank Robinson did already, but 2 MVPs in each league. I don't think that's a record that anybody will break in the future.
That is impressive.
Right? 2 MVPs in each league. Frank Robinson was the first to win 1 in each. Ohtani won 1 last year to make it number 2, but 2 MVPs in each league. That's another notch in that unicorn horn, right? But imagine this. Imagine back-to-back MVPs, back-to-back championships, and Yamamoto wins the Cy Young. You're talking about 2 signings in the same offseason that netted you 2 world championships, 2 MVPs, and essentially the pitching MVP for the 2 guys you spent a bill on. The Dodgers wouldn't have to do, I mean, I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying if they didn't do anything after that, again, this is as big of a win as you could have, right?
Yes.
Especially in baseball, because winning back-to-back championships in baseball has been a 25-year odyssey. And this is supposed to be a league that doesn't have parity. How does that make sense? Another narrative that we can talk about, right? Because that's the easy answer. One of the things I do like about Empire Jeff's couch comments is most of the people who talk out of their rear end are those idiots who are sitting on the couch with the thumb up their ass, yapping about stuff that's actually not true. That's the ones I'm talking about. Jeff's usually talking about the guys that overreact. I'm talking about the ones that don't know shit about what they're watching. So when you look at the champions since 2000, New York, obviously. 2001, you had Arizona. 2002, you had Anaheim. 2003, you had Florida. I mean, shoot. Arizona, Anaheim, and Florida. At the time, they were Florida, not Miami. They won championships in those years, right? Then you had Boston in 04. Then you had the White Sox in 05. Then in 06, you had the St. Louis Cardinals. Then in 07, you had Boston again. 08, you had Philly. 09, you had the Yankees. So you could say big market teams, Chicago, New York, Philly. Yeah, big markets. But what about Florida, Miami? Is that considered a big market? It's a popular city. But they were Florida at the time. No. Anaheim? No. I don't care what you say. Anaheim is not LA. Arizona. South side of Chicago, White Sox. Is that considered a big market? I mean, it's Chicago. Okay, I'll give you that one. St. Louis, not a big market. So now you go into the next decade. 2010, San Francisco. 2011, St. Louis. 2012, San Francisco. 2013, Boston. 2014, San Francisco. 15, Kansas City. 2016, Cleveland should have won that series. Chicago finally broke that little curse, right? After 100 plus years. Then in 17, you had the Houston Kumquats. 18, you had Boston. 19, you had Washington. 2020, you had the Dodgers finally. 2021, Atlanta. 2022, Houston. 2023. Why am I drawing a blank in 2023? They beat Arizona.
As far as
Oh, Texas. Sorry.
yeah. That's right.
Texas.
Ron Washington.
No. He was in Texas when they went to the World Series.
Oh, he wasn't? Okay.
Yeah.
Getting his timelines mixed up.
Ron Washington. Ron Washington went to the World Series in 2010 and in 2011. 2011 was the David Freese hit that cost them a World Series. So, big markets, small markets here and there. But I guess when you look at, would you say the Giants between 2010 and 2014 were a dynasty? They won 3 championships in 5 years. I never thought 3 championships was a dynasty unless they won them in a row.
That's what I'm saying. The Lakers in the early 2000s, that was a dynasty because it was 3 in a row.
Yeah. Okay. And even then, I actually didn't think of it until later. I always felt 4 was a dynasty. I don't know why. Just how
it's
my
looking
brain
more
works.
and more like a dynasty now, Joe, in the NBA.
Right.
To say the way the NBA is working itself out right now.
Before then, you didn't really have anybody still. I mean, the Yankees won in 2000 and 2009. Those are 2 separate teams in my view. Philly, the Red Sox were winning in 04. They won in 07. They won in 13. They won in 18. I mean, they were just kind of playing ping pong there at that point. So the only dynasty that we've seen that has an argument a little bit in the last 25 years might be that San Francisco Giants team. The Dodgers are probably another title away from starting to sniff that too. But I would say them three-peating, winning in 25 and 26 probably puts them there, because now looking at the decade, they will have won in 20, 24, 25, and 26. They have 4 championships in the decade, and they still would have 3 more seasons to add to that. I don't believe the Tanner Scott thing is going to be what some of you think. I think he's going to get out of this.
I'm just going to say this, Joe. The Dodgers, and because they haven't updated the odds, the stats here on MGMs, but as of last week, a week ago today, they were second in the major leagues in blown saves, and I'm assuming that has gone up. Well, today, for instance, but I'm assuming they've blown more than one since last week, so they could very well be leading the league in blown saves. And if that's the case, I think that, again, I think the area of need that they need to address most is in their bullpen. I really think they have some concerns there. I know a lot of people in our chat are talking about Tanner Scott being a poor investment and being not getting what we returned on it. But yeah, a dozen blow saves, let's just say at this point in time already in the season, that's not good. And again, a 4 ERA, they're 17th in the major leagues in ERA, Joe. So they're not.
So here, I've seen every game this year, so I'm gonna lay this down a little bit for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You want to fix the bullpen? You gotta get your starters back.
Okay.
The Dodgers have no business having a bullpen game this year. They have 8 starters that can pitch on this roster. So you want to keep those guys fresh? I mean, the Dodgers, we came into this year as fans not knowing who the hell Jack Dreyer was. Jack Dreyer has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And you have Sauer, who's been phenomenal. You have a lefty and a righty that we got into this season that we had no idea about what they would do, and they have been huge. So for me, looking at the bullpen, I'm actually looking at that. They have added 2 really, really good, and it's looking like high leverage pitchers. Trevino is still suspect, but he wasn't, he's somebody they had to trade for to kind of add depth to what was going on. Vesia, he's been pitching okay. Luis Garcia is a low leverage guy. I'm not worried about him. Kasperius, we knew he was going to come in and play well. Banda's been kind of not as good as he was last year, but that's normal with relief pitchers. That happens. They have one good year, one bad year, one okay year. But a lot of it is because they're getting taxed. It's only May. It's going to go into June here. We're talking about 2 months in. This is nothing. 2 months and a few days. If you count the Tokyo games, these guys have been just run down. So it's time, hopefully within the next month, the latest, that this team has all its starters back. And we got to get these guys on a 5 to 6 man rotation and at least going 5 and 6 on the average. So then you don't have to worry about, oh man, is this guy too tired? Is this guy going to blow a save? That has played a huge part. The pressure changes when you're starting a game. Relief pitchers are not supposed to start games. They're not supposed to worry about the second time around a lineup in the 3rd inning. They're supposed to come in when the lineup has gone 3 or 4 in, and maybe they've been getting some hits with the other pitcher, and then now they see this guy and they're like, oh man, this guy's going to throw us off. Now it happens the other way too, when they're not hitting against the starter and then they see a different pitcher and now they're hitting off that guy. But the Dodgers should not be in a position with this much depth to have to do bullpen games. That has to stop within the next month, in my view, if they don't want to tax these guys throughout the year.
You feeling okay about Mookie?
As far as his season?
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking he's not having the season he should have?
The numbers are starting to drop off. He is 32. I don't know what, over the course of time we've talked about before, and we've seen before how, players in the 30s seem to age differently in baseball as they do in some other sports. Some handle it better than others. His numbers are off. His numbers were off last year from the year before. So, I mean, right now it's 250 something, 8 and 30, 34, 35. Yeah. I mean, it's there. It's okay. It's just, is this the Mookie that we're expecting? Is just okay. Just okay. So in this case,
I don't know what the end is for Mookie. He's got a 12-year contract. He's in his 6th season.
Hmm.
So 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So he's halfway through his contract. It's very likely that he's not going to be the same Mookie that he is supposed to be.
And no one can ask. I told you I was a Dodgers fan first, became an Angels fan, got tired of all the mismanagement, starting with that Pujols contract, because as you and I both know, that did not age well at all. And the Angels had that as an albatross. And I'm not saying that's going to hold in the same direction for Mookie. I'm just saying there's a decline that I'm seeing, and I'm just hoping that when the Dodgers need it, that he'll be there in the playoffs, and that they can go ahead and really go ahead and count on him as being that guy once again.
I'm assuming his illness at the beginning of the year kind of threw him off to start the year. And being that this game is such a mental game, maybe that played a part in him not kind of getting out the gate. There's also the fact that he's playing shortstop.
That Johnny mentioned that.
And doing quite well. So does he get back to Mookie last year before he broke his wrist or hand? Is he pacing himself because he's trying to do well on the field? I guess I'm not too worried about Mookie. And the reason why Mookie cannot be compared to an Albert Pujols, and by the way, props to St. Louis. I guess if anybody would have known, it would have been St. Louis, right? Like there was a lot of trepidation. Is that the word I'm thinking about?
Trepidation
against the Cardinals about letting Pujols go after 10 years.
Yeah.
What the hell were they thinking? This is an iconic player, all this. Well, Anaheim got the full brunt of that, right? Albert Pujols did not take care of himself like Mookie Betts does. Mookie Betts looks like a guy that is constantly making sure that he's in tip-top shape. And maybe that's genetics too. But I think Mookie Betts is conscious of what he eats and works out and makes sure he's of correct body weight for his height and the ability to do what he needs to do, right? So that 12-year contract's a little different with Mookie because the Dodgers got him younger, And also, he has shown a habit of being in professional shape, whereas Albert wasn't that way. Plus, I also think that Albert had some extracurricular things that were going on out off the field, and it turned out to be correct because I think he ended up getting a divorce, didn't he? After all that BS,
So.
after all that BS about his wife wanting to go to get out of St. Louis and go to Anaheim, and look what ended up happening. And there was a lot of talk that she wanted to get out, and that played a part. I don't know what happened there, but I just found
that money didn't hurt either, Joe.
I know the money didn't hurt, but the point is, he would have gotten. At what point is enough enough? He would have gotten something in St. Louis if you wanted to take the money that they were giving him, but he wanted the big number, and he got the big number.
He got the big number.
But you still have California taxes. So how big was it compared to St. Louis? I don't know. We'll never know.
You still got the Angels' inept organization behind all these maneuvers. So that's another thing. I mean, if you're an Angels fan still, I feel for you because they're just a sad organization, and they will be for quite some time until they realize that they need a new owner, new front office. Wipe the slate clean, Joe. If anybody needs to wipe the slate clean, I don't know how you feel about Chicago. I know how I feel. What's going on there with the White Sox, Colorado. If any organization needs to wipe the slate clean, it is the Angels. JSJ, I don't know if they're not. You know what? The Athletics, at least things are looking up for them, because even though we don't want them here in Vegas, at least they're coming into a nice, sweet, brand new home for them, and they're going to get all the money now that they want in here in Las Vegas. So I don't know. Are they really bad? Are they really worse than the Angels right now?
They have a brighter future.
Yeah, they do have a brighter future. Yes, maybe the present, like you
until
said.
somebody comes to Artie and says, "Look, I'll give you $4 billion for your team. Just get out of here." I think
he tried to. He put it up. He put it up a year ago, year and a half ago. Yeah. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah. No one wanted it because he probably wanted more than what they'd be willing to offer, right? But to answer Johnny's comment, everyone knows Mookie's not a shortstop, at least not right now. But he has been pretty decent. I'm not saying he's the best shortstop or anywhere near the best shortstop, but Mookie is at shortstop because of necessity. Andy Pages has to play. His bat has been phenomenal the last month, and he can play the corner field. He's very good there. Conforto's a good left fielder, just a horrible hitter, which if he continues to play like this, he's probably not going to be back anyway. So Teo is a right fielder by trade. How does this play out next year? So let's say Conforto's gone. You put Pages at center, put back Teo at left, and then put Mookie back at right if you find a shortstop that you like. I don't get paid to make that decision. For me, I think there's no concern yet with Mookie at short. There isn't a concern yet for me to say, oh, well, this could cost him when it matters. What's going to likely cost him when it matters is what Muncy's doing at third, possibly, unless he's hitting. If he's not hitting home runs and getting walks on a regular basis, because that's what Muncy does. He walks, he hits home runs, or he strikes out. Strikes out, pops up. King of pop-ups and strikeouts when he's getting outs. But he usually supplemented that with a 30 home run season and a lot of walks. So unless he starts doing that, I think the Dodgers are going to have to address what's going on at third. We'll have to wait. We'll have to see when the pitchers are there. We have to see when the full throttle pitching staff is there, so we can get a good gauge on what is needed to be done. So until they get their 5 main guys, I'm just going to say 5 because that's the traditional number. The 5 main pitchers that they have that can pitch game in and game out. Till we see that, we're not going to really know how bad the defense is all the way through, even though Muncy's been bad at third. But he's not a third baseman. That's the problem. Is Max is at third because of necessity as well. He's really a first baseman. So, Conforto, Muncy have to start hitting and have to start hitting consistently. Not everybody needs to be hitting 300 and going 1 for 4 in every game. I'm not saying that. But you can't keep going 0 for 13 and 0 for 15 in 5-game sets. That has to go. That has to stop. That's kind of how I stand on it. And July is coming. August is coming. I'm not too worried. I trust Andrew Friedman. I think if there's something that needs to get done, he'll make it happen. But I know he'd prefer for it not to happen because you always got to give up more than you want when you have to go get a player. They don't want to do the Arenado trade because they know that St. Louis might say, hey, we want Zaire Hope. And
Dodger tax, per se? You always talk about the Laker tax.
That's as big of a tax as you can probably make. If that's something you do, now you're trading for a player who might be on the downside of his career, even though Arenado can still play third. What if he goes over in the playoffs? Like, you don't know that, and you want to give up talent. I happen to enjoy when the Dodgers have homegrown talent. That's just kind of how I look at it. Yeah, I know, Aaron. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to risk that, but I have a good feeling that if they did do that, if they did have to go make a trade, I would be in shock if Zaire wasn't asked for. Otherwise, they're not going to make the deal. Freeland, I don't know. I don't know enough about Freeland yet. I saw Zaire Hope play. Freeland, I don't know yet. I'm still kind of in limbo on that one. Haven't seen enough of him yet. Unless it's for a younger dude who can for sure help the team win. I just don't want them to. I don't want a Michael Bush situation. I don't want a Konerko situation. I don't like those situations when I read on Pedro Martinez for Delino DeShields. Those trades are nightmares when I think about them. Letting Beltre go to Texas. Those things drive me nuts. I hate that. And this team is stacked. This team is stacked. This isn't the 2000 Dodgers or the 90s Dodgers where they were being run by the O'Malleys that were on the last leg or the idiots at Fox or that dumb shit that owns the parking lot still. I don't even want to say his name. It's just this team cannot. I don't want them to make a move. They have enough talent on this team. Get your shit right. You're not going to have every position be perfect also. That's another thing with Dodger fans that drive me nuts. You want everyone to be great, all 1 through 9? That's not realistic. I don't give a shit how much money you have. You want gold glovers on every position? That ain't going to happen. But first 5 hitters, sometimes 6. And then you have Edman playing 9, which to me is my favorite lineup. Edman at 9 always makes me happy. I do get happy though when Kim is at 9 too. Hey, Sung Kim is at 9 is cool too. I think Roberts the other day had Kim at 8 and Edman at 9. That is my favorite. That is my favorite lineup before you start getting to Shohei. Imagine getting Kim on base at the 8, and then Edman gets a single, gets him to 3rd, and then you have Shohei coming up. Imagine that during the playoffs. Imagine that being a habit. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you mentioning his name. I agree, Johnny. I agree. I like how you think. I don't want to. I don't feel like the Dodgers need to make a move right now. It would have to be a major injury to really oh, shoot, we have to do this. Otherwise, this thing can come off its rails. Injury as in an everyday player. When does Dave give Kim some runway? That's a good question. That's a hell of a question. They haven't really been playing small ball a lot. You just haven't seen it a lot. I don't know. I do agree. Aaron. I'd like to see Kim play every game, every day. But again, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Is Kim still sick from when he was sick before? I don't know. Or maybe that's where it'll go. Maybe they're waiting on this Conforto Muncie thing to kind of play out. Who knows? But at this point, we should just trust the process. At this point, let's just trust it. See how it plays out. They're in first place, guys. They're up 2 games, and they're not quote unquote playing well. I think that's hilarious. The best division in sports. I'm sorry, the best division in baseball. And they're still up in the division, and they're not playing well, and their entire pitching staff is on the IL or was on the IL, other than Yamamoto. They've had one pitcher not be on the IL at some point this year. I'll design a T-shirt that says F. Frank McCourt. I would do this, Chris. Make a shirt that sells "Sell the parking lot, Frank McCourt." Sell it to the Guggenheims. Boycott the Dodger parking lot shirts. That's funny. Just make sure you get it punched in the park.
Exactly.
Don't punch me. Hey, Chris, do this. Don't punch me in the parking lot. Make those shirts. That's funny. Muncie is normally a no-show in the playoffs. He wasn't a no-show in the Mets series. He got on base. What was it? 12 in a row. He died in the World Series. But he
the NLCS.
Well. He was dynamite.
Yeah, 11 walks in that NLCS alone against the Mets.
12 straight. Plate appearances. That ended up on base.
Yeah, NLCS. He really played well. We'll give him that. And then the year before, in 2020, he played well in the World Series. So it's a mixed bag with him in the playoffs. But he does have his moments, Joe.
We're gonna find out here in a month. I'd say another month. You're probably gonna find out a little bit more, probably enough to know what's going on. Got to wait till you get to that. Right now, looking at their schedule, they've played 56 games. So you're starting to creep up to 62 here.
100 left,
and then you'll have 100 left. It's a lot of baseball to go, but I don't know if they're going to wait more than a month if some of the guys that are playing are still doing what they're doing. I think there might be something brewing. I don't know. But we'll be here. We'll be here to talk about it. I know we haven't been here every day like we are when the Lakers are playing, but baseball's like that, guys. It's hard to go after every game, at least without it being kind of redundant. But we'll be here once, twice a week. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight on the experiment. Gerald, thank you for being here again, shooting the baseball talk. I know we don't I don't think we've ever talked that much baseball together, so that was kind of the first. And great questions, great comments, guys. You guys are amazing. Baseball is Empire. Jeff and I talked about this. Doing baseball is the most difficult game to talk about. People's attention spans are trash. Anybody that comes to me, because sometimes my wife will say I have, my attention sometimes goes elsewhere, but I always tell her, I go, look, if it's important, if it makes sense, if it's something that I like, I'm going to pay attention. If it's something I don't like, that's probably when I doze off. I don't have ADHD. I don't have ADD. All that is by choice. If you could talk baseball, there's no way I will ever accept that you're an ADHD guy or an ADD guy. Baseball, especially in this day and age where attention spans are down to zero. And by the way, this is not a child thing. This isn't a current Gen Z or current teenager. I am seeing more adults with their head up their ass than children. So it's not just kids. Anybody who starts blaming the kids, that's BS. Bunch of crap. The adults are getting worse with that crap. But anyways, I'm not here to be a sociologist. But anyways, thank you all again. For some of the new guys, thank you for subscribing. Johnny Owen, again, thank you for being here. I think this is the first time I've seen you. Aaron, Search, the mod father, the best. Thank you so much for being here and monitoring the chat. Some of you guys that will be at the game this weekend, I'm going to do my best to be there on Saturday. I am going to be there on Friday. I'm going to try my best to be there on Saturday because it seems like everybody's going to be at the Saturday-Sunday game. And I got to see some of you guys, man. I can't keep doing this. So I will let you guys know probably on Friday how that plays out. Until then, have a great morning. Have a great afternoon. Have a great evening wherever you are around the globe. And until next time, I'll see you next time.